Today's video is brought to you by Squarespace. More on them a little bit later. Recently, I dropped a video called Why Super Amy Matters, and jokingly, I said that the name of the episode largely depended on whether or not Sega allowed the little pink hedgehog to finally glow. And in that same episode, I also gave Sega praise for not only including the super form, but also a hyper form. But silly me, for some reason or another, I had completely failed to notice that they have never used the term Hyper Amy once in the game. So they both did right by Amy, but also did her kinda dirty, and that's just about the most Sega thing I've heard in a minute. So, like Sonic Origins, I guess I'm gonna have to retcon my own canon, because I was a little too nice in that video about Super Amy. I still believe a lot of the positives I said there, but today, we're gonna talk about the negatives. This is why Hyper Amy does not matter to Sega, or why Sega hates women, or maybe just the word hyper. Maybe a little bit of both. To many Sonic fans, this won't even be noticeable. Who cares? It's just an adjective. There's no need to ramble about this for 15 minutes. Buddy, whose channel do you think you're on? Look, if you don't care, I get it, but I do. And I'm gonna make a big stinky deal about the word hyper when it comes to Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, I talked about it for 20 minutes when Origins allowed Tails to go hyper. So yeah, I think it's a little weird that Sega couldn't provide Amy the same courtesy. And hey, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, hi. This is a weird place to jump into Sonic YouTube content, sorry. But to catch you up, if you collect 7 Chaos Emeralds in the classic Sonic games, you get Super Sonic. And with Sonic 3 and Knuckles, they introduced a set of bigger Super Emeralds that allow a secondary Hyper form, something they have never gone back to. It exists only in this game, and apparently a lot of folks never even knew this existed, and weirdly enough, it feels like Sega kinda wanted to keep it that way. Now, for your more hardcore Sonic nerds, whether or not these emeralds or the Hyper forms were ever a part of the story's canon or just a secondary gameplay reward is a whole other debate, but one way or the other, they are in this game and you can get these forms. At least you can now in Origins, because up to this point, Tails could only go Super, which we have talked about before. Now, as to why they never came back, according to an old Q&A panel with Izuka, the current head of Sonic Team, these forms never returned because they were too worried the Hedgehog would be compared to the likes of Dragon Ball Z. It's a bit too late for that, but I also get that to a point. Goku has so many hairstyles, it really does dampen the initial specialness of that first Super Saiyan transformation. And I guess they want to keep Super Sonic special, even though they've overused him to the point where he no longer is. And they weren't exactly afraid to explore other transformations in other games, ones that were arguably far more unique than Super Sonic ever was. And as I've argued before, I do think the Hyper forms do help move away from Super Saiyan comparisons. If they really didn't want to be compared to Dragon Ball Z, then they would have moved on from Super Sonic a long time ago. But I don't mind that Super is here. I like these forms. They are awesome. But Sega is super weird about using them. On top of hiding away Hyper, we've also heard that only male hedgehogs can canonically obtain super forms, which is kinda gross, right? It's not even just hedgehogs, but male hedgehogs. I have never been okay with this idea. Unless you're explaining some special connection between Sonic, Shadow, and Silver specifically, then this is just sexist. And I guess speciesist? I don't know. Does a hedgehog count as a race in Sonic's world? We'll just say it's racist. Sega's racist, who cares?
Racist.
Please say that they'll turn me into a racist.
Ha ha ha.
I'm never getting a review code from them again. I know people are going to come in and try to explain this away with their own headcanon, but I promise there is no story point to this. They're only just now sorting out the game timeline, and it is still a mess. I would bet money this was just an excuse to shut up fans who kept asking about other characters getting super forms. This is all happening in the early 3D days. They wanted to make Super Sonic big deal. They wanted to make Shadow a big deal comparable to Sonic, and when 06 came out, they wanted to do the same for Silver. Afterwards, they kind of dropped that idea, at least with the Chaos Emeralds. They've been very stingy with this stuff ever since. But considering some more recent Sonic media, it feels like these silly arbitrary rules are starting to lighten up ever so slightly. Sonic looks like he's allowed to do something outside of the usual Bleach job, and again, thanks to Sonic Origins, Tails can go hyper. He even has a Funko Pop for his super form. I mean, yeah, why not make money off of this stuff? And And of course, little Amy can finally go super herself after collecting all the super emeralds. See, after she collects all the chaos emeralds, the game never says Amy can now change into super Amy. It instead says that she got all the emeralds, but she can still transform all the same. So what is this then? False super Amy? Yeah, I got plenty of Dragon Ball references. If you don't get them, then what are you doing on a video about glowing hair? Go watch DBZ. Be a better nerd. Come on. It's only after you collect that second set of super jewels does the game finally allow her to be called super. Of course, the fans are still calling her Hyper Amy. There is a change as she can now be a hammer brother and chuck an endless supply of her iconic weapon. And really, it's not that different from the other secondary hyper forms of the other characters. But if that is the case, why not just call her Hyper Amy? If the other characters getting super or hyper forms is not considered canon like a lot of you weirdos say, then who cares? Nothing is going to ruin this carefully curated timeline. This just tells us that this character matters and your efforts as a player matter as well. And the word is already in the game. It's already used for Sonic and Knuckles, and again, when Origins dropped, they did the same for Tails, so don't give me any silly headcanon like Amy couldn't go fully super till she had all the super emeralds, because baby, I already told that story with the fox in another video, and all of that is null and void the moment he was allowed to go hyper himself. But they stopped with Amy, and that feels gross to me. But let's be completely fair, maybe this isn't a strange sexist move. Maybe Izuka would have put that same stopper on any other character that wasn't Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails. I would bet money that the Origins team had to fight to even allow Tails to have that adjective. But again, they stopped at Amy. Even if you take the Dragon Ball comparison excuse at face value, it is still super weird that they have distinctly said that only male hedgehogs can go super. I'm sorry, it just feels kind of weirdly sexist. They went so far as to include her. They tried to emphasize her importance again. So yeah, she does deserve to be at the same table as the three boys, and far more so than any of the other playable characters in the rest of the game series as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, I'm gonna be greedy. I'm also in complete agreement with the commenters on the last video who still felt kind of ripped off. She's the only hedgehog who is not allowed to have raised quills or a golden glow. Even if they spit out some more stupid Chaos Emerald lore explaining why only hedgehogs with dicks can glow yellow, a color Tails is not, that still feels weird. Why do their genitals make all the difference? The genie has been out of the bottle for almost 30 years at this point. Hyper forms are here. Sega, I'm not asking you use them all the time, but use them in the game that had them. You let Tails finally sit with his big brothers, and you guys had to know the question would always be asked. What about Amy? No, this video would not have happened if they just said Amy could go hyper and she had some silly blur effect along with the endless hammers. It really is me lamenting over the use of a word, but I am tired of being thankful for scraps. I'm tired of complimenting Sega for not fully committing. I'm tired of them being embarrassed of the supporting cast. I'm glad they're dipping their toes back into that larger pool of playable characters, but this is a bit ridiculous. Amy should have her hammer jump, not some hand-me-down powers from Sonic. She should be allowed to go hyper, she should have raised quills in a rose gold color, she should have a secondary attack that screen clears all enemies whenever she does her hammer jump. She should have all these things. All these characters should have kick-ass super and hyper forms. We know Sonic is special, great, we get it, but so is Amy. You want to charge $10 just to let us play her in these old games, then at least have the common courtesy to give her the same title as the boys. Stop being scared to use what you have already established. Give yourself some easy wins, Sega. And like I keep banking on, I'm assuming the folks who worked on Origins dearly love these games and these characters. I'm sure they had wild ideas they were desperate to share. I don't have any insider knowledge for any of this stuff. I'm just blaming the management because this feels like a management call. Again, I'm happy she's here. I'm happy she can go super. I made a big stink when they just let her glow, but they should have gone just a little bit further. There is a lot of power in a word. And even if you don't think it's a big deal, the simple fact that it's not here tells me that it was a big deal to Sega. Before we wrap up for today, I want to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, Squarespace. Jumping online and building up your own brand was always an intimidating thing for me, but Squarespace makes that a streamlined, fast, and easy process, all while making you look good thanks to their Fluid Engine, a next-generation website design tool that lets you tweak any of their many templates with easy-to-use drag-and-drop tools. And I don't need to tell you how useful websites can be, whether you want to build up a portfolio of your work, an art gallery, or a shop, because yes, they have everything you need to run your own online business, including analytics that help show you the strongest avenues of growth and help you build up marketing strategies, which include integration with your favorite social media networks. And they can even help you set up an online shop to sell and distribute custom merch. All you have to do is design it and they'll handle production, inventory, and shipping. Really doesn't get any easier than that. And to make it just a bit easier, if you use my link, squarespace.com/gameapologist, you'll get 14 days for free, which is plenty of time to see if this is right for you. And when you want to make a purchase, that same link will get you 10% off your first order. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring the video. That's gonna do it for today, guys. This was gonna be a short, quick, rambling video. I just had to get this off my chest. I promise we're gonna talk about Origins proper next time. But you know what? I'm not done talking about Amy. We're gonna have a nice big Amy video coming up very soon. I'm so sick and tired of people thinking I don't like the character just because I like other female Sonic characters. It is nuts what this franchise has done to this fan base. So I guess you're in for an August of Amy. Enjoy. I do need to thank the amazing people who do support this channel, especially right now. Not to be too TMI, but had a lot of crazy expenses just fall on us unexpectedly. I'm in for a really rough couple months, so any extra help has been so incredibly thankful. I literally could not survive without the support of the folks on Patreon, so thank you guys so much. And an extra special shout out to these fine folks here: Kyle Winter, Cyrus the Skeptic, Joseph Duncan Sonic 2 Blue, John, Josh Strider, Casey Rose, Hatsworth, Tiny Jericho, Ginger Bob, Jack of All Spades, Tristan Trapp, Meekers, Dun Dun, Quote Resident Fanboy, Miles the Prower, Jeremy Singer, Mr. Boo J, Sam Webster, Fish Flop, Lucas Lipker, The Bad Pal, Jonathan Dobbs, Clover Chats, Haley, Dr. SP here. It's not the heat, it's the humidity. Be sure to check the heat index before going outside. I don't have any humidity, but it still sucks. Dry heat is still garbage, but humidity is terrible too. We're all gonna die in a fire. Cecil the Galade, The Dark Neon, Stefan Plutkonica, 3 Monic, Graham J. Hall, Lenny X, Wayne is Boss, Letteric. By Infinite Universe Theory, 9 should have an alternate universe counterpart called 20, like David 20 covers. Good point, David. Jimmy Duke STR, The Lumberjack, NBTV, Trash Baphomet, Autumn from Twitter.com, Jin Seotame, Botan, I'm not reading that, Enerjack 5, Grayson Conager, Spades the Nocturne, Ken K, Ven 101, Paxton Bisbees, and Darren 7, Haruspecs 3 Rule 4, Twilord, Did You Know the Skin on Your Elbow is Called a Weenus, Paisley, Eric Delgado, Kodinsky, Jamo Art, Sayonara Robocop, Crimson Rose, sorry about all the chaos with the names, you can just call me Nix, Sonic PAJ, Moonicent, Roxas the Cat, Godzilla, Makuta of Salt, Sometimes You Should Aim, oh dear, Alexander Watson, Neil Gompa, Conan Kudo, Sharif Pi, the Lex the Most Powerful Ship in the 2 Universes, Native Nerd 27, Kaido Prower, Swift Cannon Spearmint, Demetrius Prower, Omega Man 21, Penn Adelaide, Other Envelope, Jamie Torres Jr., The Phantomist, Silver Stars, Dazza S, the world's most unironic 8.5 Tails stan, One More Sonic Robot. That's a great name because everyone who thinks I'm running out for robots for Mecha March Madness, there's always one more Sonic robot. I literally discovered another one just a couple days ago. Anyway, that's gonna do it. I'll be back very soon. We're probably gonna cover the Ninja Turtle movie. I do really want to talk about The Last Ronin, but outside of all that, I really want to talk about Origins, and I really want to talk more about Amy Rose, so be sure you stick around for all of that. But until next time, toot toot, Amy Warriors.